Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine. On today's episode, I got a new skill every time I was exiled, and after 100 worlds, I was unmatched.
Welcome, everybody. It is I, your junior world jumper, Kermit the Grog, here in his element, the expert, Professor Isekai Sensei-Sama. Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Welcome to school.
Oh man, I felt like I needed to put some stank on it. We're in your neck of the woods, you know. I have to give respect to senpai here.
Yeah, so we were, we're in a bit of a lull with new Shonen Jump series coming out, and
which I'm cool with.
We were like, oh, what are we gonna do? We're sort of running low on things. You wanted to do a bit of a romance arc, but it didn't really make sense to start that before number 30.
Yep.
So we were looking for stuff, and I went, we haven't done very many isekai, and I have this one that's been really well rated. We should give that a try.
Is this our first proper isekai? We had another light novel one that friend of the show Maxie B brought. I don't remember if that was an isekai
that
or not.
One,
but it had light novel-y isekai trappings to it.
Actually, I forget if that was a proper isekai.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was.
It was just a light novel, which we normally don't cover those because I don't like them.
Well, it's
generally
not like I read the light novels, so
yeah. No.
But so I started reading this one recently, and I was like, you know what, this might be a good one. There's some bits in here that I think Kermit might like.
Okay. Let's read the summary first, then. Unless you have anything else you want to go over?
No, let's dive in.
We will do a patented Kermit speedrun summary written by Isekai Sensei-Sama Brad. Is there a greater social fear than being forced out of your group? Is the desire to visit new worlds and see their sights enough to overcome that fear? What about gaining amazing powers and abilities? For our protagonist, Ed, the rewards far outstrip the fear. The mood seems heavy as Ed joins his party for a drink after a long day. Things haven't been going great, but these heroes still need time to unwind. However, this evening will be unlike the many previous, as one of the comrades speaks up. Ed, you don't have to come tomorrow. What's this? A day off? No! Ed is being banished from the heroes' party. But this can't be. It's a joke, right? The heroes explain that Ed has been consistently dragging them down. They're sad to see it, and gave him time to clean up his act since he was so great in the beginning, but they've waited long enough. Ed hangs his head, dejection clearly written on his face, until a cold, clear voice rings inside his head. Condition met, 10 minutes remaining until return. Ed's solemn expression twists into a grin. He springs upward from his seat and shouts in excitement. His ex-party looks at him as if a mushroom has sprouted from his ears. They wonder if the shock of being kicked out has driven him insane. But no, Ed is perfectly sane. It's just that he has finally got his wish. Quickly, Ed pulls book after book from his dimensional storage. The party mage incredulously exclaims that if Ed had storage magic, he should have told them. How could he keep something so amazing from them? Ed quickly redirects them to the books. He explains that each of the books outlines what each party member is lacking in and things they can do to improve, as well as meticulous maps to dungeons. The hero, shocked at this sudden revelation of Ed's capabilities, quickly bows low and apologizes for not seeing it before. In turn, each party member apologizes while Ed tries to deflect and tell them that he just wanted to be of use when he's gone. But they think that's silly since he's obviously not kicked out anymore, but Ed refuses. He can't come back. The hero, saddened but understanding, says that, of course, it's not right for them to push him away and then immediately ask him back. But Ed says that it isn't. But without further explanation or even a goodbye, Ed sprints out of the tavern. As Ed runs through the stone-paved streets, the voice returns to his mind and alerts him that his As Ed runs through the stone-paved streets, the voice returns to his mind and alerts him that his return will happen in 10 seconds. Just as he finds a secluded spot, a whirling portal of light sucks him in. As the light reassembles his form, we see he is in an unending white void with a thin layer of water over the entire floor. Around him there is a table and chairs, but also many, many wooden doors, each with a number. Ed sits in one of the chairs, letting the weight of the world fall from him. He ponders that this time it took a year, rather long, but he did his best, and now it's time for a promise to be kept. He looks deeply into a crystal ball in the center of the table and says, "Take me home." So this chapter's kind of short.
Yeah, my memory of this was that basically the first couple chapters was one chapter, because I mean normally first chapters are 60 pages.
We're used
or
to
whatever.
that. We're used to the jump chapters.
And so as I was rereading this to do the summary, I was like, oh, this first chapter's not really enough. There's not enough here.
So you've included with your summary the actual summary that's up for this manga series.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut through some of the stuff we've already talked about to get to some juicy things that I didn't know about because I only read the first chapter. Ed was given the crazy test of having to get expelled from 100 hero parties in 100 different worlds before he could return to his original world. Finally, a mysterious and divine entity said that he had achieved all the conditions to return to his original world. However, as a final condition, he is asked, "Look at the fate of one of these exile worlds after you left," and he is shocked by what he sees. "Okay, I'll do it. I'll go down to these 100 worlds again and be banished with a good feeling." Ed takes on a new challenge to make full use of the super powerful exiled skills that were granted each time he was exiled, and this time ensure that they all have happy endings. Only this time he is accompanied to these 100 worlds by a former companion. ...
Okay, so I'll let you know this right now. The that last little bit there, and this time he'll be accompanied. That's a pretty big spoiler, actually, because
it seems like it.
I didn't even get to that part yet in chapter. Just
do it. Whatever.
There's 16. There's 16 scanlated chapters out right now.
Okay. Weird. Summaries are strange.
That's probably some important information there.
Admittedly, all a lot of the information of the story exists because this was originally a light novel that is now being made into a manga.
Right. This is not. Unfortunately, this is not a series that you can acquire legally if you don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Or rather, sort of legally. I don't know. Gray areas.
You'll have to go to the index of manga.
But there are currently 16 scanlated chapters out. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few more. This is a series that comes out in I believe it's a monthly magazine. It comes out in Young Champion.
Young Champion.
Which I'll let you know ahead of time if you look it up. Scantily clad women right on the cover. Like,
I feel like I've seen those manga magazines playing Yakuza and been like, what's this? And being really confused.
It's and not 2D women, 3D women.
3D women.
So I think it's
human women. And it's like, no, not that. Yes. Live action women?
Live action.
I can't believe that's the clarification I need to make.
I think it's a magazine akin to like a Maxim magazine in the U.S.
I guess.
Where it's like...
I don't know what's in a Maxim magazine, Brad.
Well, it's like cars and stuff, but also
ladies.
Lots of bikini ladies.
Yeah.
So, but again, if you don't speak Japanese, it's not really going to matter.
Yeah.
That said, I think this is a really good series. It's one of the best isekai that I've ever read, which I've read a lot, so hopefully that means something. As I said, it's actually the first couple chapters that you need to really get into it. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting conversation since you only read the first chapter.
I kind of wish I read the other two then for 2 and 3 because I have to be really honest with you. This manga really peed in my Cheerios, Brad.
Okay.
It really rankled my whatever gets rankled.
I mean, I feel like there's something else going on there because there's not much that happens in this first chapter.
No, and like, okay, you know me, like I tried really hard. Like I know, like this is a light novel isekai, so I'm already on like a high alert level for bullshit. And then also I'm me, so I'm just generally like I have my like tuner tuned up for like this is what this means. Where like you don't have this, and I have it too much. I will actively say that, and. Like, I don't know if it's that, like, I don't get to see the original world, but the whole team going, you're not allowed, like, you haven't been working very hard. We're going to kick you out. And then having the, like, actually, I was amazing the whole time, and here's how you can, like, it had big, like, the nerd at work who has no social skills that everybody dislikes. But it's like what if everybody turned on? It's like, oh, we finally learned that all your ideas are actually the best instead of the worst, and it reads like a power fantasy of somebody who lacks friends.
Yeah, I mean,
when your work community finally comes around on your ideas, but you've been kind of a big shit the whole time, or maybe a little shit, and it just instantly that was the piss meets Cheerios moment of like, this feels like a really self-serving nerd power fantasy for the socially inept. So
the thing is that's a trope that's used in a lot of different series.
I'm not surprised, a lot of them, because isekais are also a big socially inept nerd power fantasy, which obviously to each their own, but it's not mine.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't isekai, but it is a banished from the hero's party.
Okay, this is the first time I've ever heard this, so I mean, I guess it makes sense that you'd have to have those building blocks before you're doing it 100 times, because if a trope is popular, why wouldn't you just turn the crank up to the max on a different, like that's your gimmick is, I took the thing that's popular and I just turned the crank up higher?
Now, the thing is, I think even without knowledge of that trope, I think people can get into this series.
Okay.
Because it's got a lot of its own merits. There's obviously sort of a building block with that trope. If you have experienced it before, this is a very refreshing take on that trope.
What's the if this is a refreshing one, what's the like standard, like what's the dictionary definition stereotype of the hero is removed, the character is removed from the hero's party? What's the context usually? Because they're not like, is it a normal thing that you get kicked out and you get like a power?
So generally the trope is, well, there's two ways that it goes. So the first, and I think the most standard way, is that the hero in the party is either jealous or is in some way thinking that the person that they kick out is lesser than them and that they'll do better without them, when that person that gets kicked out was actually pulling the most weight the whole time.
Okay.
And so
yes, this continues
it's
to
the
feel
power fantasy,
like it's the power fantasy of what if everybody that said you were wrong was actually they were wrong and you were the best, and now when they truly understand that you're the best, it's too late. They can't date you anymore. You're just too cool.
The other way that it goes, and this one is generally falls into a revenge category, whereas the first one is more just like, I'm going to go live my best life. The second one is they actively try to harm the person. A lot of times it's they're leaving them alone in a dungeon or whatever.
Wait, who is I need the they. The hero is leaving the isekai character, or the other way around?
Right.
So the party is just ditching them somewhere.
Right.
They're just not treating them well.
And so in that circumstance, they are weak at that point. They are either like leaving them so that they can not get chased by a monster. The monster will go after the weak person or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. And that person then goes through something that gives them amazing power, at which point they can exact revenge.
I asked you to the prom and you said no, but look how cool I am now, Francis, Brenda. I didn't pick a name before I started saying that. Now you can't dance with me. We can't make kissy-kissy at the prom. It's too late.
Now, as someone who has not really had social issues like that, I do enjoy these stories.
Okay.
I would agree with you that you're amped up a little bit.
Yes, I know this. I know this. I will always, because I will read into this because I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like the majority of the power fantasy. My power fantasies in media and manga is different than it's like the active, not the opposite, but is very different than what isekais usually serve up. Usually those are ones where I'm like, And again, like it's generally not.
Actually, in most cases, these stories, the banished trope stories, are not isekais at all. There are a couple of them, but for the most part, they're just plain old fantasy. Like
just some random person, and then they happen to get a power. So it's the tropes without it being the otherworldness of it.
Right. Now, the really cool thing that this is doing, that is sort of turning that on its head, is going, what if that was the goal the whole time? What if the point was to get kicked out? So
I like that as a concept, but I mean, this is a short first chapter, and it that's why it's like I mean some of it is that like I don't have the like genre knowledge to go like okay like 'cause it's new to me, and it's like that we instantly start there that I don't get to actually see how the party operates, so I don't know how anybody actually is.
Yeah.
And it's what you said, 23 pages? Like this seems like something you sit on for at least a couple chapters, just having a fantasy adventure with maybe like, oh, something's up, or our normal like Shonen Jump first chapter where it's like 70 something.
Yeah.
Where you could have that whole thing and then the chapter ends going, well, wait a minute, like it's too soon to be a surprise. It just sort of I'm not even fully adjusted to the world I'm in before we hop out of it. And it's like, well, that was stupid.
Yeah. And I think for people who do know the trope, the first chapter would hook them, because you're seeing that right away of the whole like, oh, he's getting kicked out. Oh, wait, he's excited by it? What's going on here? For people who aren't familiar with the trope like you, I think, yeah, probably the first couple chapters.
Does he already, like, hi, we're going to future vision a little bit because I'm kind of curious. Does he already have powers while he's in the world that he starts with?
Yeah, because that's the 100th one. He has completed...
So he has
his
99
quest.
cheat powers, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's the whole thing is like, here's a bunch of like maps and books and stuff about how like the fact that it's like I've made you these detailed books about how to suck less is like one of the most just like, well, actually, if you were doing that, like,
well, no, there's something.
But I know, like, he gets that because it's the one that we talked about where the little girl gets the literally the guidebook for the video game she's in, and like that's cool. And if it was presented like that, but the fact that it's presented like, here are your weaknesses, I will tell you about them so you can get better at them. I'm this single like again like all of these are things that I'm just like piss off.
There's a really interesting thing that's going on here that you start to get a lot more of as you go farther into this, which is. You know, he's done this 100 times. Every single time that he's done this, he has gotten attached to the party that he's in. He does have friendship and a bond with these people, but he's forced to sever it.
Let me see that before you cut the tether.
You get into that.
No, I need humanity now.
Yeah, within the next couple chapters, you get that.
Okay, I didn't.
I apologize that there was only one chapter of this
Shonen
for you.
Jumping the Gun, and we read the first chapter.
We should probably set a limit of like 70 pages.
Okay, because admittedly, it was for Pride Month because we did cheat for Until I Love Myself.
Yeah,
because that felt like, and even then we shaved off the last one. Didn't we? I don't remember. But like, yeah.
We did for the episode, but I did read it.
But that was also a lot more emotional heaviness than an isekai manga.
This isn't going to reach that, but there is a lot of emotional weight that happens.
I will make the deal with you. I will shake your hand across. I can't touch you because we're sitting in our chairs and it's far enough away, but we're in the physical space. A ghost handshake. This is a contract. I will read chapters 2 and 3 of this.
Okay.
I make no promises if I will be pissy about what I've read, but I'm going to read them and do my best to try to keep a level head about it.
Well, nobody knows how you're going to feel about anything, so.
Come on, we both know how I'm going to feel about it. I'm going to try really hard, I promise you, but okay. So, I feel like a lot of our conversation was that, and also you know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And the summary kind of told me where it would go. Because, I mean, what? Like, it's the thing, like, I guess what? He has to then go back through and then he has to fix all the worlds now?
I'm not entirely clear on what exactly is happening at the beginning here, because what he does is he goes back to the first world. And it's like years later. So... that was the first world he did. He went through, he didn't have powers at the time, but he went through all this and then he was like, I have to get exiled. So he did some stuff to get himself exiled. And he was like, but they'll be fine. This guy's a hero. He's crazy good. He's got such good support here.
Yeah.
They're going to do fine. He finishes World 100. He goes back to this place and the disembodied voice goes, hey, I'll send you home, but also if you want, you can check out this world and then I'll send you home, right? And he's like, okay, I'll check it out. So he goes back through door number 1 and now it's, so many years
door
in the future.
Number 1 is not home.
No.
Okay, it's just first party.
Right. So he goes back to that world, finds out the hero's party got wiped. The world is a mess.
So in every world, even if they're doing well, and I guess that's why he leaves the stuff behind.
Right.
So,
but he doesn't know that's what's going to happen. But
no, but like
because he gets
if
attached,
he has to move through and fix all of them, they should start getting better as he starts getting more powers and can leave the hero's party with more.
Well, there is that, but he doesn't know that's what's happening yet.
Okay.
Because when he left World 1, it was like...
No, that's what I'm saying. When he comes back,
right.
like the thought process that I had from the summary that I read, the manga summary, not the summary you wrote, Brad, because we didn't technically have that information, is that he will go back through and fix them all, but now he's like an uber being.
Presumably, yeah.
So he can solve them really quickly, but it's like, A, how do you make a problem that he needs to solve now he's a super being, and B, how do you keep quote-unquote 100 worlds interesting and not just the same thing over and over
and
again.
So what happens...
You constantly have to restarting from zero.
Once he visits that first world and goes, oh, it got trashed, he returns back to the void, and the disembodied voice is like, you want to redo? You can do it again. You can go back to World 1 where you were the first time, like back to the beginning, and you can try again.
So is the concept he has to be there or the hero's party's fucked?
Well...
Or is that he did something that put the world in a state that they became defeated?
Not necessarily. I'm not entirely clear on that.
Okay.
But I don't get that idea from it. It's just that like, oh, you can start over because you've done this 100 times. You actually know what you're doing now. This first world, which you thought was fine, but there was actually a lot of stuff going on that you didn't know about.
Notice 'cause it was your
now
first
you
time.
can go back and deal with it, and you can save all these people who you actually like. Really, you like these people. They're your friends. So there's a bunch of stuff going on there, and again, first chapter not really doing it justice, unfortunately.
I think the first chapter should have been the first world. That we end with being teared away from that, and then at the very end of it, if it was a longer chapter, you cut to 99. So you spend time, you make connections to that first party, you as the reader.
Yeah, and there's...
So that when you finish 99, like when you get ripped away from it, when you come back, it will mean something.
Yeah, and they do flashbacks throughout and sort of go, this is what happened the first time. So you get a better idea of that. You get that backstory that you're currently missing.
Yeah.
So...
I'm going to attempt to put the newer segment stuff in here. So we said, what do we think is going to happen? We kind of got into what we want to happen to an extent. What would be something you would want less of moving forward?
I'm actually, I love everything about this.
Okay.
I wouldn't change anything about it so far, except for making the first chapter longer.
Full chapter length. So this would have been a more fruitful conversation. Nothing I say is going to be meaningful. Like you've heard me trying to do surgery on this chapter to make it more cohesive. And again, I'm also working with 20 pages instead of like 70 pages, 60 to 70. So
I guess I would say the question that I would have is, now me giving you a lot of the context for that, is there anything within that you either think you will like or you think you have apprehensions that it will be able to be executed well?
It sounds like more of the things that I just generally don't like about these kind of stories. I don't like these fantasy worlds. I don't like these overpowered chumps flashing around. Like, these are things that just low level I do not like. I do not like them, Sam. I am. I'm going to write that. Sam, we can do Green Eggs and Ham with Isekai at some point. We'll figure it out. Like I said, I will read those chapters, but I have a really hard time seeing a timeline where I keep reading this and enjoy it, like, truly. Well, and to an extent, I am sorry about that, but also, like, it's just... Brad, I'm sorry that I'm your friend, that this is, like, the thing you like the most, and I'm actively the human who kind of detests it a lot.
Well, let's...
I'm constantly spitting on all your little toys and baby and just disrespecting it. And, like, it's not cool, but it's what's inside of me.
Let's shift the question.
Okay,
then.
yeah.
What did you think about the art?
I'd have to look at it again. I don't remember anything particular about the art.
Okay.
It was very serviceable, which I feel like is the norm when it comes to a lot of these. Here's another light novel that we paid an artist to adapt. Like, it just feels like very workman-ish I can't. I mean, again, I read this a couple days ago. The summary was nice to have, but like, I remember everything was very like, here's a fantasy isekai setting. There's no particular art style, and we're not doing anything particularly different or interesting. So it was just kind of one of many.
Yeah. I would say, as far as the art is concerned, that it's like at the top of like the normal manga style.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is something that we run into a lot with heroin addiction, where it's like, we're going to give this a 4 in art because like it's really well done, but it's not doing anything interesting.
I mean, has anything ever scored lower than that?
Lower than a 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of stuff.
Okay. Like, I appreciate with that you have like art execution and art direction, because I feel like that gets at it more, because it's like this art. I mean, I guess we've had ones we read where it's like the art was bad because I was confused what was happening, and that was not a problem I had here. Like, it's just, it is. I think the phrase we did settle on is like workman. Like, it is fine. It gets the job done. It doesn't make me feel anything in a particular way. Which, you know what, that's fine. It's art. Do I want it to be more? Yes.
I think there's some
load bearing.
There's some interesting like monster and character designs and stuff that you get later on that I think you'll probably enjoy. But yeah, considering this first chapter is just like, it's in a town, it's in a tavern.
Here's a tavern. Here's an adventuring party that I can't spend time on because we're going to throw them away within 5 pages. Yeah. Like, it's just... It does not bode well for investment when Protag-kun is here, Protag-kuning it up everywhere. So, with that, how do you? We're in vote zone. How do you feel about it, Brad?
This is one of my favorites. Wow. So, I'm all about it.
I cannot see inside of you, Brad. I do not understand what goes on in there, but I respect you for having those feelings.
In terms of like it's probably in my top 10 for isekai.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm built different. I don't know which of us is, but it's probably, I don't know.
I mean, I think probably one of these days we're going to have to do That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
I think the new quest is find an isekai Kermit doesn't actively recoil at.
Because, I mean, that's my favorite one.
That's the new one.
I imagine you won't like it.
Doesn't like, get one that Kermit does.
If you would like to abstain from feelings on this, because everybody already heard your feelings.
You know what I feel. I don't need to put it into auditory ink.
You don't have enough context.
Admittedly, I also, that is a good point. If you want to give me an out, I will take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not cool on it. I would not spend money. I am literally only reading the other chapters out of a deep, respectful, friendly obligation to you, my friend.
If we were
not as good friends as we are, I would not read these chapters. Understand that our friendship means a lot to me, and I will read those 2 other chapters.
I mean, I did legitimately think that you would enjoy it. Unfortunately, not from the chapter 1.
You have been wrong every isekai that you have like buttered up specifically to me. Like, not even like it was fine, but like active like. Ugh.
One of these days I'll get it.
One of these days we'll get it right. The little girl getting the guidebook, which admittedly is not an isekai, but it is an isekai like.
The book is isekai.
The book was good because that's the thing. There was no Protag-kun. It was Book-kun.
I would if this gets an official release, I'm going to purchase it. Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. This is what makes this podcast work. We are 2 very different humans. With that, oh wait. I forgot, because I really didn't like this and you really liked this. We trigger our not often used segment, High Noon. High Noon.
Yeah.
Where you have to say one bad thing about it and I have to say one good thing.
I mean, I guess I already used that the first chapter is too short.
You have to say what's in it, though. That's only bad to us.
In
our particular situation.
I don't know.
Well, you try to think of that. I will say my one good thing. I do like the concept that he has detailed maps. Again, that made me think of the guidebook manga, where it's like, oh, he's like, literally, it's like, here are the loot drop tables, and here's this. And I know it's not that like video gamey as the guidebook one is, but I like that concept of just like, oh, I just get to see all of the inner code workings of this, and this gives me a benefit so I can draw maps exactly as they're going to be in the world for you, even though we've never been there. And I like that. I like that part of it as a concept.
I guess I'll say I didn't like the fact that he obviously cared about that party that he was leaving because he left them all this information that they need to help them. But he didn't say goodbye. Like, I get that he can't explain what's going on, but he could at least be like, hey, no, you guys are fine. I gotta go. Bye.
Yeah, like there's a way to do this without being an asshole.
Yeah. I didn't quite understand what that was. I did. I'm going to go to something I like. I like that the hero was so humble about it. He was like, oh, yeah, of course, we just kicked you out. That's so unfair of us.
Okay, if I can take my head out of this is a nerd power fantasy of being an asshole and being like, oh, yes, you were right the whole time.
Yeah.
I did like how, and admittedly, it's just so we can get rid of any of the tension so he can leave without that many threads. I do like the hero's like, yeah, you know what? That was kind of an asshole move.
And that's the thing, because in most of the banished trope ones, the main hero is a dick. And, he doesn't realize what he did wrong.
I'm like, oh, maybe the party's actually mean, and it's like they're kind of feel like they're approaching it as like you would, where it's just like, hey, we're paying you to keep this on this team, and you used to be like, what happened? What do you do? Like, we finally have to cut you loose.
And they're like, yeah, we gave you a lot of time.
Yeah, like they're real chill. Like I did. Okay, I will say that. Yeah, I liked how chill the party was. If I take myself out of the power fantasy concept part of it, I liked how actually understanding the works. I'm like, I was ready for them to also be jerks.
I think anybody who's familiar with the trope, the banished trope, would read this first chapter and be like, oh my God, what is this? This is, because it really turns it on his head.
What are you little isekai goblins used to that this is like wow.
Not just isekai. Pleasant. It's not just isekai.
I need another word that can describe whatever these are. Fantasy power fantasies.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
But just to sort of end the discussion on that, I would recommend people who like fantasy stuff, but also just a general sort of, there's some romance in here, which is good.
If you are unlike me, which you probably are, unlike me, listener, it's for the best. I promise you, you will probably enjoy this.
It's just good. I think people should check it out.
Okay. And with that, we're at the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Once again, because I want to say it because I don't think I've said it yet on microphone. This has been, I got a new skill every time I was exiled, and after 100 different worlds, I was unmatched. And with that, Brad, hit me with those plugs.
Yeah, so as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart's a retailer of Japanese things, all kinds of different stuff.
Some of them you can eat. Some of them you shouldn't. Because they're not food is the clarification I wish to make. All the food stuff is good to eat. Yeah. You should eat it.
But it's all stuff you can't get outside Japan. So our listeners can use the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order. Of course, we want to hear from you, so hit us up on social media, which you can find the links for on our website, animepodcastreincarnation.com. You can comment on the podcast episodes up there or join us on Discord and join us for a chat. We've also got our Patreon. Our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series to cover on heroin addiction, as well as getting the high-quality stereo version of this podcast early. And we also have bonus episodes. But, of course, we'd like to hear what perks you'd like, so let us know. Of course, we've got to shout out our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we have Moon and Cake Dwarf. At our Merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but not least, at our Commoner tier, we've got Rena. So thanks so much to all our patrons. And be sure to check out the other series on our feed. And once again,
thanks for Brad, I thought I did that part.
Well, I was going to wait to tell you this, but you're not on the podcast anymore.
Oh. Sick! Now I got a cool power! See you later! I need to remember. I need to think. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to write jokes right now. I could. Okay, I can play off of your. I left one left. I wanted to eat it so fucking bad. Understand the restraint that I displayed.
Oh, you already ate the third one? Okay, well, I'm going to eat it then.
Yeah, no, it is yours.
I was going to give you one.
No, that one's yours. Dude, you know how about, like, sweets will disappear in this home. I will just eat them. And it took every fiber of my being to go, that's Brad's, that's even, it's his. Because I want to eat it so bad. You trying to bite it or is it stuck?
It's stuck.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I wonder if I should read the Japanese name.
That's your funeral, bud. You're the one editing.
Suho Sare.
I was going to say, if it's spoken in this podcast, you're going to speak it.
The rest of it's fine. Tabi ni skill wo te ni irata orega 100 no isekai de to shume musoi.
Why is it number 2?
No idea.
I made a post because I'm working on more plays and stuff, and it's like, I got to already get a foreshadowing of it trying to figure these out, is that I don't know how to end things, and I have the Henson problem where every ending is either something explodes, somebody is shot, there is screaming, or somebody is eaten. And that was the problem I had with one recently that I was writing for a thing. And I was just like, I don't know how to fucking end this thing. I don't know how to end anything. I just have concepts. How do you actually land a plane?